Dear listener, welcome. If you too would like to fall asleep each night through the eyes of a different prehistoric creature, you can subscribe and become part of our prehistoric family. By liking and leaving a comment, you can give us strength. And before we begin the story, remember this: every day is a new beginning. Enjoy listening. Night stretches across an ancient world. The air is heavy with silence, the kind of silence that invites slow breathing and long drifting thoughts. This is a story told not for excitement, but for rest. A boring history for sleep. A gentle path into prehistoric secrets. Tonight, we remember the Tyrannosaurus Rex. We remember its strength, its weight, its power, and we remember how its kind faded into memory. This is a relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale carried on soft words. The dinosaurs were not creatures of myth. They were real. They walked on solid ground, drank from real rivers, and lifted their heavy skulls toward a sky filled with ancient stars. For more than 160 million years, they ruled. They grew tall like towers, long like bridges, strong like thunder rolling through valleys. But even the greatest rains end. And so, the question whispers, why did they disappear? Why did the mighty T-Rex, the king of lizards, vanish from the earth? Scientists tell us of an asteroid. 66 million years ago, a rock larger than mountains came down from the dark. It struck near what we call the Yucatan Peninsula, a place of warm seas and shallow reefs. In one breath of time, the sky burned. The impact was greater than billions of bombs. Fire spread across forests. Waves rose higher than cities. Dust and ash filled the air. The sun dimmed. The world grew cold. Plants withered. Then starved the herbivores, and then the carnivores followed. This was the end of the Cretaceous. This was the end of the Tyrannosaurus. But the asteroid was not alone in its work. For thousands of years before and after, the earth shook with volcanic fire. The Deccan Traps in India poured rivers of lava across the land. Smoke rose in endless columns. The sky was veiled in clouds of sulfur and carbon. The climate wavered between heat and frost. A chain of suffering stretched from plant to animal, from small to great. Even the most powerful predator could not hunt if there was nothing left to hunt. The T-Rex was strong, yes. Its bite was the strongest bite in the history of land animals. With teeth the size of bananas, with jaws that could crush bone, it was built for domination. It stood as high as a 2-story house. It weighed more than 7 tons. Its body stretched 12 meters, sometimes more. It was muscle and bone arranged for power. Its legs could drive it forward faster than any human could run. Its tail balanced like a heavy beam, letting it move with surprising grace. Yet none of this strength could stop the sky from darkening. None of this size could protect it from hunger. Imagine the scene: a T-Rex standing in a forest of dying plants. The air colder than before. The ground dry, then flooded, then dry again. The great predator searches. Its golden eyes move left, right, scanning. The nostrils flare, reading the wind for the scent of prey. But the prey are thin. Some have fallen, some have fled, some have vanished entirely. The king still walks, but the throne is empty. The crown grows heavy. This is extinction, not as a single moment, but as a slow decline. A long fading of footsteps. A quiet history. For us, in the present, the T-Rex is not gone. In imagination, it still lives. In science, it still teaches. Its bones rest in museums, giant skeletons pieced together with care. Children stand beneath those ribs and tilt their heads back in awe. Adults read the plaques and whisper facts. 12 meters long, 6 tons in weight. 50 teeth curved for slicing, eyes set forward for depth. We remember because remembering is a way of dreaming. It is a way of drifting gently as you drift now into sleep. The extinction of dinosaurs is not only a story of violence, it is also a story of change. After the fall of T-Rex and its kin, the world opened for mammals. Small creatures who once hid in shadows began to rise. They grew larger. They filled the spaces left behind. They became the ancestors of today's animals and of us. Without the end of T-Rex, there might never have been the beginning of humanity. In this way, every ending carries a new beginning. Every silence carries a new sound. Close your eyes and imagine the size of the T-Rex. Imagine standing at its feet, the air thick with the smell of earth, the muscles shifting under scales, the head lowering, the breath slow, the teeth gleaming. Now imagine the same ground without it. Quiet trees, empty rivers, a night without footsteps. That is what extinction leaves, silence. And silence is also what we seek now. A silence that is safe, gentle, made for rest. This is boring history for sleep. A tale not to excite, but to calm. A prehistoric mystery told in slow rhythm. You do not need to hold the details. You do not need to keep the numbers. Let them pass like clouds. 7 tons, 12 meters, 66 million years. They float by, heavy and light at once. Your breath rises. Your breath falls. The asteroid came. The volcanoes raged. The climate shifted. The chain of life broke. That is why the T-Rex is no longer here. But in this story, in this quiet, it still walks. It walks gently. It walks slowly. Its shadow is long but not frightening. Its story is heavy but not loud. It is a relaxing dinosaur story, a deep sleep tale, a boring history that carries you further into calm. And so, the first part ends. The extinction is explained. The body is described. The strength remembered. The silence honored. Now the mind drifts further. Into part 2, where the story continues. Into a deeper rest, where the T-Rex does not vanish but waits like a dream at the edge of night. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was more than bones and numbers. It was a living presence. A giant animal moving with slow thunder. To imagine it is to enter a world both familiar and distant. This is not a world of bright cities or fast machines. It is a world of forests heavy with ferns, of plains wide with cycads, of rivers that carry the weight of ages. The T-Rex walked there. It hunted there. It ruled there. And now we remember it in a story meant for rest. A boring history for sleep. The T-Rex could reach 12 or even 13 meters from nose to tail. Its hips stood 4 meters high, taller than most doors, taller than any human. Its skull alone stretched 1.5 meters. Each tooth, long and curved, could pierce bone, tear flesh, and hold steady. Its bite force was measured not in hundreds, but in thousands of kilograms. Some say it was the strongest bite of any land creature that has ever lived. To hear the numbers is to feel small. To hear them now is to let them pass like stones sinking in water. Heavy, silent, steady. Despite its strength, the T-Rex was not a monster of endless rage. It was an animal. It ate when it was hungry. It slept when it was tired. It raised young. It searched for prey in the cool of morning or the dim of dusk. It did not roar to terrify the world. It breathed. It walked. It watched. In that way, it was like every other creature, alive for a time, part of the chain of life. This reminder is calming. Even giants lived with rhythm. Even giants rested. Picture a T-Rex moving across a valley. The steps are slow but powerful. Each foot sinks into the soil. The tail sways, counterbalancing the body. The head turns slightly, scanning left and right. Somewhere in the distance, a smaller dinosaur grazes on plants. The T-Rex lowers its head. The golden eyes narrow. But the chase is not frantic. It is patient. The predator saves energy, waiting for the right moment. Even in hunting, the pace is measured. Even in hunger, there is rhythm. Now picture the same valley years later, after the great changes began. The plants are thinner. The air is colder. The smaller dinosaurs are fewer. The T-Rex still walks, but each day is harder. The meals are smaller. The waits are longer. The silence grows. This is how extinction feels, not only as a single blow, but as a long struggle. The world shifts under the feet of giants. Scientists find fossils that tell this story. Bones with healed injuries show that T-Rex fought and survived many battles. Some jaws carry scars. Some ribs are broken and then knit back together. These marks show strength, not weakness. They show that life was hard, but life was endured. Until the asteroid came. Until the sky darkened. Until the chain broke. The end was not fair. But nature is not fair. Nature is only change. What seems eternal in one age becomes fragile in another. The T-Rex was perfect for its time, but when the time ended, perfection could not hold. This truth is quiet and also soothing. Nothing lasts forever, but every moment is complete while it lasts. In museums today, the skeletons stand tall. Children tilt their heads back and count the teeth. Adults whisper about the weight, the size, the age. Paleontologists brush dust from bones and measure angles of hip and leg. Each fossil is a voice from the past. Each fossil says, "This was real. This was alive. And now this is history. A boring history for sleep. Told to calm the mind and slow the breath. Close your eyes and imagine lying in a forest 66 million years ago. The leaves above are broad. The light is soft. Somewhere nearby, a T-Rex moves. You hear the ground shift, but you are not afraid. You are listening from a safe distance, watching from the edges of time. The great predator lifts its head. The eyes shine for a moment. Then it passes, leaving silence behind. That silence stretches, and you drift deeper into it. The extinction of the dinosaurs, including the T-Rex, was the doorway through which new life entered. Without their fall, mammals may never have risen. Without their fall, humanity may never have come. Their end is our beginning. And so, when we speak of their loss, we also speak of our own story. This makes the telling gentle. This makes the sadness calm. The T-Rex was strong. It was heavy. It was powerful. But in the end, strength, weight, and power were not enough. The sky itself changed. The earth itself shifted. Against such forces, no teeth were sharp enough. No legs were fast enough. No roar was loud enough. The giant became quiet. And from that quiet, new voices rose. This is the rhythm of the world. Rise and fall, beginning and ending, noise and silence. Tonight, as you rest, you share that rhythm. You rise and fall with each breath. You begin and end with each thought. You drift slowly from waking into sleep. The T-Rex story is finished in the world, but it is not finished in memory. It is not finished in science. It is not finished in dreams. As long as bones stand in museums, as long as stories are told, as long as sleepers drift to boring history, the T-Rex still walks, quietly, gently, in the mind's eye, under the stars. And so this part closes. The T-Rex is described. Its extinction is remembered. Its power is honored. The silence is kept. And you, listening now, are invited to let that silence grow within you. Let it spread like a calm shadow. Let it cover each thought, each worry. This is not only the story of a dinosaur. This is the story of rest. This is a relaxing dinosaur story. This is a deep sleep tale. This is boring history for sleep. Night returns over a prehistoric land. The forests are thick with ferns. The rivers glide with patience, and the stars shine as they have for millions of years. In this quiet world moves a creature of weight and wonder, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Tonight, we do not meet it as a terror. We meet it as part of the earth, as an animal with rhythm, with habits, with a daily life that once stretched across the land. This is a boring history for sleep, a relaxing dinosaur story, a gentle path into dreams. The T-Rex woke with the sun. Its heavy body rose slowly from the ground. Muscles shifted under scales. A yawn rolled from its massive jaw, a sound deep but not harsh, more like the stretch of wood under pressure than a roar of rage. The breath fogged in the cool air of morning. Around it, insects hummed, leaves shivered with dew, and smaller creatures scattered into shadows. Each step pressed deep prints into the soil. 3 toes spread, claws sinking into the soft earth. Behind, the tail swayed like a counterweight, balancing each movement. The T-Rex did not rush. Energy was valuable. In a world of giants, even the strongest conserved strength. It moved with patience, each motion slow, measured, steady like the rhythm of breath, like the rhythm of sleep. The valley stretched wide. Cycads clustered in green waves. Conifers rose in dark spires. Between them, a herd of Edmontosaurus grazed. Their bodies shifted in quiet harmony, long tails swaying, heads bending to pull at plants. The T-Rex stopped at the edge of the trees. Its head lowered, its nostrils flared. Scents filled its senses. The musk of herd, the damp of soil, the sharp trace of leaves crushed underfoot. Hunting was not constant chaos. It was waiting. It was watching. The predator chose not the strongest, but the weakest. Not the fastest, but the slowest. A limping step, a distracted turn, a young one straying from the group. These were the openings the T-Rex sought. It was not cruelty. It was survival. The same pattern that shapes every hunter, every age. The eyes of the T-Rex, set forward, granted depth of vision. This was rare among reptiles. It allowed the king to judge distance with precision. The muscles in its legs bunched with quiet strength. And then, when the moment came, it moved. The run was not endless speed, but it was powerful. Up to 20 kilometers in an hour. Enough to close the gap in a burst. The ground trembled with each stride. The herd scattered. Some crashed into trees. some bolted for water. One faltered. One stumbled. The T-Rex pressed forward. Its jaws opened, lined with teeth curved and sharp. The bite came down with the force of mountains. Bone cracked. Flesh tore. The hunt was done. Afterward, there was no frenzy. The T-Rex fed slowly, tearing strips of meat, tilting its head to swallow. The meal was not only for itself. Scavengers waited. Small dinosaurs lingered at the edges, waiting for scraps. Even ancient mammals crept closer when the giant's belly was full. The T-Rex ate, then stepped back, leaving remains for others. This too was part of the cycle. Nothing wasted. Nothing lost. When the sun rose high, the T-Rex sought shade. It rested under trees, bodies stretched on the ground. Flies buzzed. Birds perched nearby, cautious but curious. The giant's eyelids lowered. The breath slowed. Sleep came even to kings. Sleep came especially to kings. The land was quiet but alive. The story was boring but steady. A prehistoric secret told in silence. Hours passed. The T-Rex stirred again at dusk. Evening was a time of movement, of cooler air, of second hunts. The giant rose, shook its body, and walked toward water. Rivers cut through the land like silver lines. Fish splashed. Frogs croaked. Small creatures bent to drink and scattered when the shadow fell. The T-Rex lowered its head, tongue dipping, throat swallowing. Water carried life. Water carried calm. In these moments, it was not a monster but simply an animal. It quenched its thirst. It walked along banks. It watched the flow of current. It moved with the same slowness you feel now, the same drift toward calm. The night deepened. Stars filled the sky. The T-Rex tilted its head upward, eyes reflecting faint glimmers. The air cooled. The valley settled. Insects sang their steady drone. Somewhere far away, another predator called. The sound carried, then faded. The T-Rex lowered itself to the ground once more. Muscles folded into rest. Breath softened. The great chest rose and fell. Sleep took the giant dot, and in that sleep, the world continued. Forests grew. Rivers ran. Stars moved. The cycle of days went on. For the T-Rex life was not endless war, not endless roar. It was hunting when needed, resting when possible, moving with rhythm. It was survival. It was existence. It was simple, steady, calm. This is the story we keep. This is the history we whisper. Not of violence, but of rhythm. Not of terror, but of silence. The T-Rex lived. It ate. It rested. It slept. And now, as you listen, you do the same. You breathe in. You breathe out. You rest in the shadow of a story millions of years old. This is a boring history for sleep. This is a relaxing dinosaur story. This is a deep sleep tale. The giant walked by day. The giant rested by night. And always the earth turned. Always time moved. Always silence grew. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was a king without a crown, a ruler without a throne. It did not live in castles or sit upon golden chairs. Its kingdom was the forest, the plains, the rivers. Its throne was the ground beneath its heavy feet. Its crown was the sky above. Each day it walked through its world, alone but never forgotten, silent but never empty. The T-Rex often moved by itself. It was not a pack hunter like wolves, nor a herd animal like the great plant eaters. It was a solitary figure, shaped for independence. Its body carried enough power to face the world alone. Each step announced its presence. Each glance warned others to keep their distance. And so the king walked without company. The morning air was cool. Mist curled around the trees. The T-Rex stepped forward, its breath steaming, its eyes calm. It followed old paths made by its own weight. The ground remembered the prints. The forest remembered the passage. Each track was a signature pressed into time. Food was not needed every hour. A meal could last days. So there were times when the T-Rex did not hunt, did not chase, did not kill. It only walked. It only watched. It only existed. This is important to remember. Even the fiercest predator lived mostly in quiet. Life is not constant noise. Life is rhythm. Wake, walk, drink, rest. Hunt when needed, sleep when possible. When hunger stirred, the T-Rex searched with patience. The nostrils tasted the air. The ears caught distant movement. The eyes studied shadows. A herd might graze across the valley. A lone hadrosaur might wander by the river. But if nothing appeared, the predator did not panic. It waited. It saved its strength. The giant knew that waiting was often wiser than rushing. This patience is calming to imagine. A creature so powerful, yet so slow. A body of muscle, yet a mind of endurance. The T-Rex was not a creature of haste. It was a creature of time. It let the world bring what it would. It accepted the silence between hunts. At midday, the heat grew. The sun pressed down on the plains. The giant sought shade again. Beneath a tall conifer it lay, eyes half closed, body still. Insects buzzed, birds called, leaves rustled. The tail stretched out behind like a fallen tree. The arms, small but strong, curled near the chest. Breath rose and fell. The world slowed around it. Hours passed this way. Rest was as important as movement. Even predators must sleep. Even kings must close their eyes. In this, the T-Rex was like every other animal. The rhythm of life was shared across size, across strength, across species. Sometimes storms rolled across the land. Clouds blackened, winds shook the trees. Rain poured in heavy curtains. Lightning flashed. Thunder cracked. The T-Rex did not flee. It stood beneath the sky, rain sliding down scales, eyes blinking slowly. The storm passed, as all storms do, and then the giant shook itself, droplets scattering, and moved on. The world was cleansed. The ground smelled of wet earth. The rivers swelled. The air cooled. Life continued. This image is soothing. The predator not as destroyer, but as witness. The storm is loud, but it passes. The silence remains. The cycle continues. So too with us. Our thoughts storm, then fade. Silence always returns. As night approached, the T-Rex moved once more. Stars appeared, faint at first, then many. The moon rose, pale and distant. The giant walked across open ground. Its shadow stretched long. Each step was steady. Each breath was deep. The world held its weight, and the world accepted it. Other creatures watched from the dark. Small dinosaurs froze, hidden in bushes. Mammals crouched in burrows. Birds shifted on branches. All knew the presence of the king. But fear was not constant. The T-Rex was not always hunting. Often it simply walked. Often It simply lived. The giant paused at a riverbank. The water reflected starlight. The head lowered. The tongue touched the surface. Cool liquid moved down the throat. The giant sighed. The sound was low, heavy, gentle. Then it lay down by the water. The body curved, the tail stretched, the eyelids fell. Sleep came again. This picture is calm. A predator, feared in legend, shown instead in rest. The world quiet around it. The stars above it. The river beside it. The earth beneath it. A balance complete. And so the daily life of T-Rex was not endless violence. It was movement and stillness, hunger and fullness, waking and sleeping. It was the same rhythm that touches all living things. That rhythm now touches you. As you breathe, you join it. As you rest, you share it. The T-Rex is gone from the world. Extinction has taken it. But in stories, in memory, in sleep, it still moves. Slowly, quietly, without haste, without fear. A boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale. The world of the Tyrannosaurus Rex was not empty. It was filled with life, with creatures of every size, with forests and plains that carried endless movement. To know the king, we must also know the subjects. To understand the predator, we must see the prey. This is not a tale of terror, but of balance. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A slow remembering of a prehistoric secret in the broad valleys of late Cretaceous North America. Herds of Triceratops grazed. They were giants in their own right. Bodies as long as 6 to 9 meters. Skulls crowned with 3 horns. A great frill stretched behind the head like a shield. These were not weak prey. These were armored guardians of the plains. When they moved, the ground trembled as surely as it did for the T. The clash of predator and Triceratops was not constant, but it was possible. Each meeting was a test of patience, of timing, of survival. Alongside them lived the hadrosaurs, sometimes called duck-billed dinosaurs. Edmontosaurus was among the most common. They moved in herds, feeding on plants, lifting their heads only when danger approached. Their strength was in numbers. A single hadrosaur was vulnerable. 100 together were a wall of eyes and bodies. For the T-Rex, such herds were both promise and challenge. A chance at a meal, but also a risk of wasted effort. Then there were the low to the ground, wide and armored, tails ending in clubs of bone. Their backs were shields of heavy plates. Their skin was thick as stone. To face one was to face a living fortress. Even a predator as mighty as T-Rex thought carefully before striking. One swing of that tail could shatter bone. So the ankylosaur walked with a kind of quiet confidence. It was not fast. It was not agile, but it was secure. This was the world. Prey that fought back. Prey that fled in numbers. Prey that stood like fortresses. And predators like T-Rex moved among them, choosing with care. Hunting was not easy. Hunting was not constant success. Often it was waiting, failing, trying again. Even kings met resistance. Even kings felt hunger stretch long between meals. Imagine the scene. A herd of Triceratops spreads across a plain. The adults form a ring, horns out, frills raised. In the center, the young move nervously. At the edge of the forest, a T-Rex watches. Its breath is slow. Its eyes narrow. The distance is measured. The predator steps forward. The herd shifts, lowers heads, stamps the ground. The message is clear. Come closer and we will fight. The T-Rex pauses. The risk is too great. Slowly, it turns away. Slowly, it disappears back into shadow. Not every hunt ends in a kill. Many end in silence. Many end in patience. This rhythm is calming. Even in a world of giants, life was not endless violence. It was balance. It was caution. It was the weighing of risks and rewards. Scientists find evidence of these encounters in bones. Triceratops skulls with marks from teeth. Ankylosaurs with healed wounds. T-Rex teeth broken, jaws scarred. These fossils are not just remains. They are records of struggles, of lives lived in constant negotiation with danger. Each scar is a story. Each healed bone is proof of survival. And yet, through it all, the T-Rex remained at the top of the chain. It was not invincible, but it was supreme. No predator hunted it. Its only rivals were others of its kind. Sometimes two giants met, circling, testing, roaring low. The clash of jaws, the push of shoulders, the snap of teeth, not always to the death. Sometimes only to test, to warn, to claim territory. The land was large, but every space mattered. The rivals of T-Rex were not only other predators, but the prey themselves. Every creature shaped the other. Horns grew sharper because predators pressed. Jaws grew stronger because prey resisted. This is the balance of evolution. This is the dance of survival. It is not chaos. It is pattern. It is rhythm. And as you listen, as your eyes grow heavy, you feel that rhythm too. Pressure and rest. Hunger and fullness. Day and night. Prey and predator. Breath in, breath out. A boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale. The T-Rex ruled its world, but not without challenge. The Triceratops guarded with horns. The hadrosaurs defended with numbers. The ankylosaurs stood with armor. Each creature was a note in the song of the late Cretaceous. Together, they formed a world of balance. Together, they wrote the story of life before the end. And in that story, we find calm. We find patience. We find silence. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was not alone in its kingdom. Every step it took, every valley it entered, every forest it crossed was shared with others. Life in the late Cretaceous was a balance of power, a steady rhythm of hunter and hunted, rival and prey. To imagine these meetings is to drift slowly into another time, another silence. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale. One evening, as the sun lowered and shadows stretched long across the plain, a T-Rex approached a herd of Triceratops. The air was heavy with the smell of grass crushed underfoot. The herd gathered close, horns glinting in the fading light. The young stood at the center, small but restless. The adults circled them, three horns raised, frills wide, eyes locked forward. The predator paused. Its breath rolled like smoke. Its golden eyes narrowed. But the Triceratops did not scatter. They stood, firm as walls of living stone. The T-Rex lowered its head, stepped closer, muscles tight with potential. A low rumble passed from its chest. The herd answered not with sound, but with stillness. Horns pointed forward. Tails flicked against the dust. The moment stretched. The world seemed to hold its breath. And then, slowly, The predator turned away. Not every battle is worth a risk. Even the strongest knew when to walk back into the forest. This calm refusal is a reminder. Power is not always used. Often it waits. Often it rests. The silence after such a meeting is deeper than any roar. Farther north, another meeting waited. Ankylosaurs moved slowly across the land, their heavy armor clinking like stone against stone. Their bodies were covered in plates of bone. Their tails ended in clubs thick enough to shatter bone. To strike them was to risk broken jaws, snapped ribs, wasted strength. And yet, hunger sometimes pushed the predator closer. A T-Rex followed an ankylosaur at dusk. The sky was pale, the air cool. Each step was measured. The predator's eyes fixed on the low body ahead. The ankylosaur did not flee. It did not panic. It turned slowly, tail swinging, head steady. Its armor caught the dim light. The T-Rex tested the distance, circled once, then twice. The ankylosaur pivoted, tail ready. The two giants stood in a silent standoff, neither moving forward, neither stepping back. Minutes passed. The predator huffed, lifted its head, and walked away. The prey remained, tail heavy, eyes watching. The land was filled with such encounters. They were not all battles of tooth and claw. Many ended in silence. Many ended in stillness. Each creature carried defenses. Each creature carried risks. For the T-Rex, hunting was never certain. It was patience, endurance, chance. In herds of Edmontosaurus, danger was met with numbers. Hundreds of bodies could turn and run together, their stampede shaking the ground. A single hadrosaur was a meal. 1,000 together were thunder. When the predator approached, the herd shifted like waves, moving as one. The T-Rex might catch one at the edge, or it might be forced to turn aside. Watching the river of bodies flow beyond reach, scientists see this balance in fossils. Triceratops bones with tooth marks that healed, proof of survival. Ankylosaurus tails fused with scars, evidence of strikes. T-Rex teeth broken, worn, lost in battle. These are not myths. These are records written in bone, preserved across 66 million years. Each mark is a story. Each healed wound is a memory. And so the T-Rex was not always victorious. It was mighty, yes. It was feared, yes. But it was also patient, cautious, sometimes defeated. It shared its world with equals and with challengers. Its reign was not a rule of easy dominance, but of constant negotiation with the living fortress of Ankylosaurus, with the horned wall of Triceratops, with the endless herds of Edmontosaurus. Imagine lying now in the grass of that ancient plain. The night is cool. The stars are wide. A T-Rex moves in the distance, heavy steps echoing. Nearby, a herd of Triceratops shifts, horns gleaming faintly. In another direction, the low shadow of an ankylosaur passes. None rush, none scream. All move with slow rhythm. The air is filled with presence, with weight, but also with calm. This is the world before the end. This is the balance before silence. The rivals of T-Rex shaped it as much as it shaped them. Horn sharpened because predators pressed. Armor thickened because jaws tested. Teeth grew longer because prey resisted. Each species was both hunter and teacher, both rival and reason. Together they built the balance of their time. Together they filled the last age of dinosaurs with rhythm. And now that rhythm carries you. The steady steps of the T-Rex, the still wall of Triceratops, the armored patience of the flowing herds of hadrosaurs. Breath in, breath out, weight and silence, power and patience. This is boring history for sleep. This is a relaxing dinosaur story. This is a deep sleep tale. The meetings were not constant war. They were long stretches of stillness, broken by rare bursts of motion. They were hours of silence, touched by moments of struggle. They were the quiet negotiations of life. And so the T-Rex lived among rivals, not as a monster, but as part of the whole. And when extinction came, it came for all. Predator and prey, horn and tooth, armor and jaw. Silence fell across them all. Yet tonight, in memory, they still walk, slowly, calmly, in rhythm with your breath, in rhythm with your rest. The Tyrannosaurus Rex was not only a creature of legend. It was a body, a structure of bone and muscle shaped by millions of years. To imagine it is to imagine power carved into form, but also rhythm arranged into balance. Tonight, we walk slowly through that body. We study it not with haste, but with calm. This is boring history for sleep, a relaxing dinosaur story, a deep sleep tale from prehistoric secrets. The skull of the T-Rex was vast, more than 1.5 meters long. Its shape was not flat or narrow, but broad and deep. Heavy ridges ran above the eyes. Great openings cut through the bone, making it lighter yet still strong. Within that skull, teeth grew like curved blades. More than 50 of them lined the jaws. Each tooth could reach 20 centimeters, as long as a man's hand. Thick at the base, sharp at the edge, they were not delicate knives but crushing tools. They could bite through bone, splintering it into fragments that were swallowed whole. The bite force itself was the strongest known on land. Scientists measure it in thousands of kilograms, enough to crush stone, enough to snap through the leg of a triceratops. Each closing of the jaws was final. Yet the mouth was not only for killing. It was for feeding slowly, tearing strips, tilting the head, swallowing with patience. A predator's weapon, but also a tool of survival. Behind the skull was the neck, thick with muscle, holding the head steady. It connected to shoulders small in length, but not in strength. The arms of T-Rex were short, yes, barely 1 meter long, to claws curved at the ends. But they were not useless. They were powerful, able to lift hundreds of kilograms, able to grip tightly. Perhaps they held mates during rest. Perhaps they helped the giant rise from the ground. They were small beside the rest of the body, but they were not weak. The chest was broad, the ribs curved wide, holding lungs that filled with steady breath. The heart pumped with force enough to move blood through tons of muscle. The legs were pillars, each thigh thick with power. They carried the giant at speeds up to 20 kilometers an hour. Not the fastest, but fast enough. Enough to close gaps, enough to chase down the wounded or the slow. The feet ended in claws curved like hooks. Each step pressed deep into the soil, leaving prints that remain in stone even now. The tail stretched long behind. It was not decoration. It was balance, a counterweight that steadied every step. When the head lowered, the tail lifted. When the legs ran, the tail swung. Without it, the giant would fall. With it, the giant moved with surprising grace. Heavy, yes, but not clumsy. Weighted, yes, but not broken. Inside the skull, the senses rested. The eyes faced forward, giving depth of vision. Few reptiles had this gift. It meant the T-Rex could judge distance, track movement, focus on prey. The nose was long, lined with nerves for scent. Some believe its sense of smell was among the strongest ever. It could track a carcass from kilometers away. It could find prey hidden in forest or plain. The ears caught low sounds, rumbling through the earth. A hunter built not only of muscle, but of perception. This body was not designed in a day. It was shaped by ages, by the pressures of prey that resisted, by the hunger of survival, by the balance of ecosystems. Every tooth was an answer. Every claw was a response. Every muscle was history written in flesh. Now imagine the body at rest. The head lowered, the tail stretched, the chest rising and falling with slow breath. The muscles loose, the eyes closed. Power is still there, but quiet. Strength is still present, but calm. The body is heavy, but the mind drifts. The predator sleeps beneath stars, and so do you. The fossils we see today tell this story. Skeletons in museums are not only bones, they are blueprints of power. Each rib, each vertebra, each tooth is a letter in a long book. Scientists read it carefully. They weigh the skulls, they measure the teeth, they calculate the bites. And through these numbers, they bring the animal back, not in flesh, but in understanding. This understanding is not fierce. It is calm. To know the T-Rex is not to fear it. It is to honor the structure of life. It is to see how nature built a predator that was both terrifying and ordinary, both supreme and simple. A creature that lived, walked, hunted, rested, and slept. As you rest now, you share its rhythm. Breath in, breath out. Rise, fall. Weight of body, lightness of mind. The T-Rex carried tons of strength, but in the end, it to lay down. It too closed its eyes. It too drifted into the silence of sleep. This is the body of a king. This is the calm of a giant. This is boring history for sleep. The bones of Tyrannosaurus rex do not speak with voices, yet they carry stories. Every ridge, every joint, every mark pressed into stone tells of a body that once lived. Scientists read these marks carefully, and through their work we begin to see the king of lizards not as myth, but as fact. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story, a deep sleep tale from prehistoric secrets. The skull of T-Rex, when lifted from the ground, is heavier than many men together. Yet inside it are hollow spaces, passages for nerves, gaps to reduce weight. Evolution carved the skull like an engineer. Strong where strength was needed. Light where speed was required. The jaws hinged deep, allowing the mouth to open wide, wider than almost any other land predator. In this design, we see not chaos but careful balance. Studies of teeth show patterns. They were not smooth blades. They were thick, serrated, shaped to crush as much as to cut. When a T-Rex bit into bone, the teeth often broke. Fossils reveal gaps where teeth once stood, roots healed over. But new teeth grew again, pushing through old sockets. A cycle of loss and renewal, ensuring the predator never went without its weapons. The bite force has been measured again and again. Some scientists calculate 8,000 pounds of pressure. Others say more. Enough to crush cars, if cars had existed then. Enough to break stone, if stone had been the prey. But the power was not only in strength. It was in the way the jaws closed, the angle of pressure, the lock of muscles. It was efficiency born of time. Muscle scars on bones show where tendons once pulled. Deep marks along thighs reveal the strength of legs that pushed tons of weight forward. Ridges along the tail vertebrae show the pull of muscles that balanced every stride. The arms, small to the eye, carry heavy points where muscles once anchored. Each part of the body, no matter how small, had a role. None were useless. When compared to other predators, the T-Rex was unique. The Spinosaurus was longer, but built for rivers. The Giganotosaurus was tall, but with weaker jaws. The Allosaurus was agile, but smaller. None combined bite force, size, and balance as the T-Rex did. It was not the largest in every measure, but it was the most complete predator of its age. The senses add more to this image. The skull reveals large cavities for smell. The olfactory bulbs were huge, suggesting that the T-Rex could track scents across long distances. This was not only a hunter's gift, but a scavenger's tool. A carcass days old could still be found. Nothing went to waste. In the eyes, forward-facing sockets showed depth. In the ears, structure hints at the ability to sense low rumbles. These features combined into awareness. The giant was not blind power, but keen perception. Fossils also tell of injuries. Some ribs healed after breaks. Some jaws carried infections. One famous specimen shows holes in the skull, perhaps from parasites. These were not perfect monsters. They were animals that suffered, survived, endured. The marks of pain are as real as the marks of strength. To study them is to see the T-Rex as living, struggling, lasting dot in museums today. These fossils stand as skeletons. But remember, they are not statues. They are records. Each bone a page, each mark a letter. Together they form a book that speaks across 66 million years. A book that tells us, here was power. Here was patience. Here was rhythm. And as you listen now, as your breath slows, you feel the weight of that book close gently. Not with noise, but with silence. The body of T-Rex is understood. The structure of its strength is known. The details of its form are measured. But none of this knowledge is loud. All of it drifts into calm. The bite force, the teeth, the muscles, the senses itch is a piece of a whole. And that whole was not endless roar, but steady life. To know it is to rest in its rhythm. To imagine it is to join its silence. The scientists who measure these bones do not rush. They brush, they weigh, they compare. Their work is slow. Their words are careful. And in their slowness, we find comfort. Knowledge, like sleep, comes gently, so the body of T-Rex, the king of lizards, is revealed. Not as terror, but as fact. Not as noise, but as calm. This is the body of a king. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story, a deep sleep tale. Life does not begin with power. It begins with fragility. Even for the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of lizards, the story started small. Tonight we walk slowly into that beginning. We imagine not the giant hunter of the plains, but the tiny creature that once broke from its shell. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story, a deep sleep tale told from prehistoric secrets. In a quiet nest, hidden among ferns and low trees, eggs rested. Their shells were thick, speckled with patterns that caught the light. Within each, a life stirred. The mother T-Rex guarded the area, her heavy steps pressing circles into the soil. She lowered her head, eyes watchful, nostrils wide. Few dared approach. Yet even a giant could not protect forever. The world was filled with dangers. Small predators, scavengers, even storms could threaten the fragile shells. And then, one by one, the eggs cracked. Tiny claws scratched from within. Small jaws pushed against the shell. The first breath came in the form of a squeak, not a roar. The newborn T-Rex was no taller than a chicken, no heavier than a cat. Its skin was soft. Its teeth were small. Its steps were unsteady. It blinked against the light of a world too large. The mother lowered her head, nudging gently. The young pressed close to her body, finding warmth in her shadow. She guarded them not with words, but with presence. A 7-ton body stood between her children and the world. For a time, that was enough. The days passed. The young grew. Their teeth sharpened, their legs strengthened, their eyes widened. They learned by watching. When the mother hunted, they waited, hidden in brush, listening to the thunder of her steps. When she returned, they fed on scraps, their small jaws tearing soft flesh. Each meal carried lessons. Each shadow held safety. But safety was never perfect. Many young did not survive. Some were taken by other predators. Some starved in lean seasons. Some fell to sickness. Fossils show this truth. Tiny bones scattered, evidence of lives cut short. Yet those who endured grew stronger. Those who lived carried forward the story of the giant. A young T-Rex grew fast. In a single year, it could double its size. From the height of a bird, it became the height of a man. From the weight of a cat, it grew heavier than a wolf. By 10 years, it was already larger than most predators. By 20, it reached its peak. 12 meters, 7 tons, a body of thunder. But each step toward that size was a journey of survival. Imagine the scene. A group of young T-Rex move through tall grass, their mother leading. The sun is low, the air cool. Insects hum around them. They test their legs, chasing small lizards, snapping at insects. Their movements are clumsy but eager. Their calls are high-pitched, not yet the deep growl of an adult. They stumble, fall, rise again, and the mother watches, eyes calm, tail swaying. She does not hurry them. She does not need to. Growth is slow, but steady. The bond between mother and young is hard to prove, but evidence suggests it was there. Fossil sites with multiple individuals hint at groups staying together. Trackways show small and large prints side by side. These may be echoes of families, of parents and children moving as one. And so we imagine it gently. The giant was not only a hunter. She was also a guardian. Years pass. The young grow bolder. They follow farther behind the mother, watching her hunt larger prey. They practice with smaller creatures. They learn patience, waiting for weakness. They learn endurance, saving strength. Slowly, the skills of the king form within them. At night, the family rests together. The mother lies down, her body curved. The young press against her side, warmth rising from her breath. The stars stretch above. The air cools. In the silence, the giants sleep. Not monsters, not terrors, just animals. Parents and children. Breath rising, breath falling. A rhythm as old as time. This is the beginning of the T-Rex. Not roar, but whisper. Not destruction, but care. Not fear, but fragility. Even the greatest predator began as something small, something needing shelter. To know this is to soften the story. To remember that power grows slowly and always from weakness. And as you listen now, as your eyes grow heavy, you feel that rhythm. Small becomes large, weak becomes strong, silence becomes memory. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story, a deep sleep tale. Growth is never easy. Even for the Tyrannosaurus rex, the path from fragile youth to mighty hunter was filled with trials. Tonight, we follow that path slowly. We imagine the young predator learning to survive, step by step, meal by meal, season by season. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale written from prehistoric secrets. The young T-Rex grew quickly, bones lengthening, muscles thickening, teeth sharpening. With growth came hunger. Meals that once filled the belly for days no longer lasted. The body demanded more. Energy burned faster. The young learned to search, to scavenge, to chase. At first clumsy, often failing. But with each attempt, skill replaced weakness. Siblings often grew together. In nests where multiple eggs had hatched, young shared space, shared food, shared lessons. But they also shared rivalry. Hunger made competition sharp. The stronger often ate first. The weaker waited. Sometimes fights broke out. High-pitched growls, snapping jaws, small claws striking. These were not battles of death, but of dominance. They shaped order. They taught boundaries. They were lessons carved in tooth and bone. Fossils revealed this truth. Tiny T-Rex bones show healed bites, scars from siblings. Evidence that rivalry was common. Yet those who survived became stronger. Each scar was a mark of growth. Each healed wound a story of endurance. As they entered adolescence, the young grew tall, their bodies leaner than adults. They were faster, lighter, more agile. Some scientists believe they hunted differently than their parents. While adults used strength to crush, the young used speed to chase. Packs of adolescents may have worked together, though proof is scarce. Still, it is easy to imagine. A group of young hunters moving through forests, chasing small prey, learning the patience and timing that would one day make them rulers. Independence came slowly. The bond with the mother loosened as the young grew larger. Protection could not last forever. A time came when each had to step into the world alone. To find food, to find space, to find life. This moment was both freedom and danger. Many would not survive. Only the strongest, only the most patient, only the most fortunate carried the bloodline forward. Imagine a young T-Rex standing at the edge of a river, its body lean, its eyes sharp. It steps into shallow water, jaws snapping at fish. A small catch, but a beginning. Another day, it follows a herd of hadrosaurs. It tests a chase, rushing forward, scattering the group. It fails, but learns. It tries again days later, this time focusing on the straggler. Slowly, it becomes what it was meant to be. Slowly, it turns from youth to hunter. The seasons marked this growth. Warm months brought plenty, cold months brought scarcity. In times of hunger, young T-Rex scavenged, following scents of death to old carcasses. In times of plenty, they risked hunts, testing claws and teeth against prey. Each season carried new lessons. Each year carried new scars. By 10 years of age, a young T-Rex was no longer small. It stood taller than a man, longer than a car. Its bite grew stronger. Its eyes grew keener. Its presence began to shape the land around it. Other creatures noticed. Smaller predators gave way. Herds grew wary. The young hunter was becoming a force, but even then, survival was never guaranteed. Injuries could cripple. Starvation could weaken. Rival predators could challenge. The world was not kind. It was simply balanced. Each creature lived in rhythm with chance. And so the young walked, hunted, failed, succeeded. It grew with silence around it, with stars above it, with rivers flowing beside it. At night it lay down, breath rising, breath falling, muscles resting, dreams forming. In its sleep it practiced hunts, remembered chases, imagined victories. Dreams and growth walked together. We see this journey in fossils. Growth rings in bones, like trees, show how fast they grew. Patterns reveal times of plenty and times of hunger. Teeth worn down show years of use. Each fossil is not just a skeleton, but a diary. Each bone a page. Each scar a sentence. Together they tell us, the path from egg to giant was long, hard, but real. And now, as you listen, you join that rhythm. Small steps into large ones. Weakness into strength. Childhood into adulthood. The young T-Rex grew, and you too grow calmer, quieter, more at rest. This is the story of growth. This is the journey from fragility to power. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale. The world never stays still. Even the strongest mountains wear away under wind and rain. Even the deepest oceans shift with currents. And even the greatest creatures, like the Tyrannosaurus Rex, lived in a world that changed around them. Tonight, we move slowly into that changing earth. We listen to the rhythm of a planet in motion. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale told through prehistoric secrets. For millions of years, the land of the T-Rex had been rich. Forests grew thick with ferns and conifers. Valleys were filled with herds of hadrosaurs. Plains echoed with the slow steps of triceratops. Rivers ran wide, feeding life on every side. But slowly, quietly, things began to shift. The climate that once brought steady warmth began to turn. The air grew cooler in places, hotter in others. Rains came in floods, then vanished into drought. Seasons grew less predictable. The earth was restless. In India, great volcanoes erupted. The Deccan traps spilled rivers of lava across the land. For thousands of years, fire burned, smoke rose, ash spread across the sky. The air filled with gases that trapped heat, then blocked light. The balance tilted. The forests of the north weakened. The plains grew dry. The rivers thinned. Each change rippled through the chain of life. Plants faltered. Herbivores suffered. Predators followed. For the T-Rex, this meant hunger. The herds it once stalked grew smaller. The prey it once pursued grew weaker. But fewer prey also meant fewer meals. Each hunt carried greater risk. Each failed chase stretched the belly tighter. The king of the Cretaceous walked with power, but also with emptiness inside. Imagine a T-Rex crossing a dry plain. Dust rises around its steps. Once, this land was green. Now it is pale, broken by patches of dying trees. A small herd of Edmontosaurus grazes, ribs showing, tails thin. The predator lowers its head, nostrils wide. It waits, it watches. But even if it succeeds, the meal is meal. The feast of the past has turned into the scraps of the present. This slow decline was not a single disaster. It was a series of burdens stacked one upon another. Volcanic smoke cooled the skies. Changing seas altered climates. Food chains grew thin. The T-Rex endured, but endurance grew harder. Each season felt longer. Each hunt cost more. Scientists read this story in fossils. Growth rings in bones reveal stress. Years of scarcity when food was low. Teeth show patterns of wear, as if carcasses were chewed more often than fresh kills. Isotopes in rock layers tell of climate swings, of oceans warming and cooling, of skies shifting in temperature. All these clues point to a world unsettled, yet the T-Rex adapted as long as it could. Its strong legs carried it farther in search of prey. Its powerful jaws allowed it to scavenge what others left behind. Its sharp senses found meals even in hidden places. It was not helpless. It was resilient. But resilience has limits. A predator built for abundance can survive famine for a time, but not forever. Picture the forests fading, ferns shrinking, conifers thinning, flowers struggling. The air carries less green, more dust. Streams run shallow, fish fewer. Small animals scatter, seeking safer places. Larger animals stumble, weakened by lack of food. And among them, the T-Rex still walks, heavy steps pressing into fragile earth. The king moves, but the kingdom crumbles. The changing earth did not move with haste. It shifted slowly, over thousands of years. But for creatures who needed steady rhythms, even slow change was harsh. The balance that had lasted for millions of years tilted. And once tilted, it did not return. The T-Rex lived through storms of fire. Ash fell like dark snow, skies dimmed to twilight. Plants wilted, fields blackened. The predator's eyes lifted to a sky it no longer recognized. The golden light turned gray. The stars disappeared behind clouds. Days felt like nights. Nights felt endless. The rhythm of the earth stumbled, and yet, through this life, clung. Some plants sprouted after fire. Some herds still gathered near rivers. Some predators still hunted. But the world was thinning. The silence grew deeper each season. The footsteps of giants became fewer. In this silence, the T-Rex rested. Under a dying tree, it lay down, body heavy, eyes half closed. Hunger pressed against its ribs. But still it breathed. Still it endured. The strength of its body was immense, but the strength of the earth was greater. The predator could not fight the sky, could not battle the climate, could not stop the change. The fossils speak of this final age. The bones we find are some of the youngest, the last of their kind. They tell us that the T-Rex survived until the very end, holding on as long as the earth allowed. They walked the land up until the moment the asteroid came. They were among the last voices of the Cretaceous, among the final echoes of a fading world. And as you listen now, you walk with them. You step into a world changing beneath your feet. You feel the weight of hunger, the patience of waiting, the silence of fading forests. But you also feel calm, because this story is not told with fear. It is told with rhythm. It is told with softness. It is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale. The changing earth is not only the end of dinosaurs. It is also the beginning of what came after. The silence that fell upon the T-Rex opened space for mammals, for birds, for us. Every ending is also a door. Every silence is also a beginning. The king walked as long as it could, and then it was gone. But in that going, it made way for new life. Close your eyes and imagine the T-Rex one last time on that shifting earth. It walks across a plain where dust blows and the air smells of ash. Its tail sways. Its head lowers. Its breath moves steady but slow. Around it, the world is dim. Above it, the sky is grey. But still it moves, one step at a time, calm, patient, powerful even in decline. That image stays with you. Heavy steps fading into silence. The giant moving through a changing world. And you, drifting deeper into rest, follow the same rhythm. Step by step, breath by breath, silence by silence. This is the story of change. This is the fading of an age. This is boring history for sleep. The earth does not fall silent all at once. Silence grows slowly, like mist spreading over a valley, like dusk dimming the edges of light. In the last years before the Great Impact, the world of the Tyrannosaurus rex was already shifting. Forests thinned, rivers shrank, prey grew scarce. The king of lizards walked the land still, but its steps echoed in emptier places. This is boring history for sleep, a relaxing dinosaur story, a deep sleep tale from prehistoric secrets. The sky often carried a haze. Volcanic gases lingered in the air, dimming the sun, cooling the warmth. Seasons lost their rhythm. Summers turned shorter, winters harsher. Plants that once grew in abundance faltered. Meadows of ferns grew patchy. Groves of conifers stood thin. Fields of flowers wilted in strange frosts. The chain of life weakened at its roots. Herbivores struggled first. The hadrosaurs, once gathered in great herds, became fewer. Their bones grew thinner, their bodies lighter. They moved slower, pausing longer at rivers, chewing harder on dry plants. The triceratops, once armored walls of strength, showed ribs under their skin. Their horns still gleamed, but their steps dragged. The ankylosaurs, low and armored, survived longer, their tails swinging with stubborn force, but even they found fewer plants to feed upon. For the T-Rex, this meant hunger. The king watched herds that no longer swelled across the plains. It followed scents that faded quickly. It hunted prey already weak, already thin. A kill filled the belly, but not for long. The body demanded more, but the land gave less. Imagine the giant moving through a valley in these last years. Its head hangs lower. Its eyes search more often. Its steps take it farther each day. Where once a hunt might end quickly, now it stretches into days of waiting. The golden eyes narrow, nostrils wide, ears turning toward every rustle. The predator waits, but silence answers. Fossils tell of this stress. Bones of T-Rex show signs of malnutrition in some individuals. Growth slowed. Injuries healed slower. Teeth wore down more sharply, as if carcasses were chewed more often than fresh prey. These marks are whispers of hunger, etched into stone. Yet still, the T-Rex endured. Its senses remained sharp. Its legs still carried it far. Its jaws still crushed with ancient force. It scavenged as much as it hunted, tearing at carcasses left by others, even its own kind. For in hard times, the king ate what the land allowed. Pride was not part of survival. Only patience was. Picture a twilight on that fading earth. The sun is dim behind a curtain of ash. The air is cool. A T-Rex stands at the edge of a forest. ribs faint beneath its scales. It listens, it waits. Then, faintly, it catches a scent, a fallen Edmontosaurus by the river. Slowly, it follows. It finds the body, thin and still. It lowers its head, teeth sinking into bone, cracking, tearing. It eats until the belly stretches. It lifts its head, breath heavy. The stars appear overhead. For a moment, the hunger is gone. For a moment, the silence is calm, but moments fade. Hunger returns, and the search begins again. The earth itself seemed restless. Tremors shook the land. Storms rolled with strange violence. Rains came heavy, then vanished for weeks. The seas shifted, drawing back in places, rising in others. Shorelines changed. Forests drowned. Valleys dried. Each change pressed harder on the balance of life. The T-Rex, though mighty, was still bound by this balance. It could not command the sky to shine. It could not demand the rivers to flow. It could not will the forests to regrow. Its strength was immense, but even immense strength bowed to the earth. And then the shadow of what was to come approached. Far beyond sight, far beyond sound, an asteroid hurtled through space. It did not know It did not know the forests, the rivers, the herds. It was only a traveler, drawn by gravity, destined for the earth. In its path, the fate of giants was sealed. The T-Rex did not know this. It lived its days as it always had. It hunted, it scavenged, it rested, it slept. It walked under skies already unsettled, unaware that greater silence was near. It drank from rivers already thin, unaware that waves higher than forests would soon rise. It lay beneath stars, unaware that soon stars would vanish behind ash for years. But in this not knowing, there is calm. The T-Rex did not fear what it could not see. It did not dream of asteroids. It did not dread endings. It lived as all creatures live, in the moment. In each breath, in each step, in each pause beneath the sky, so we remember it gently. The last years of the king were not endless terror. They were slow hunger, steady patience, quiet endurance. They were long walks across changing lands. They were moments of feeding, moments of rest, moments of sleep. The predator was still a creature of rhythm. Even as the rhythm faltered, scientists believe the T-Rex survived until the very last day of the Cretaceous. It endured until the asteroid fell. It was among the final giants to walk the earth. Its footsteps were some of the last before silence. Its roar, low and deep, was among the final sounds of its age. And so we close this part of the story. The earth is changing. The prey are fewer. The hunger is greater. The silence is heavier. The asteroid draws near, though unseen. And the T-Rex still walks, step by heavy step, across a fading world. As you listen, you follow that walk. You feel the slow patience. You hear the silence between sounds. You drift with the rhythm of breath, in and out, heavy and calm. This is boring history for sleep. This is a relaxing dinosaur story. This is a deep sleep tale. The last days of the Cretaceous did not announce themselves with thunder or fire. They began quietly. A slow unease crept into the world, like a shadow that lengthened each evening but never drew back with the dawn. The Tyrannosaurus Rex still walked the plains, still lowered its head to rivers, still lifted its jaws toward the sky. Yet the air itself carried change. This is boring history for sleep, a relaxing dinosaur story. a deep sleep tale drawn from prehistoric secrets. The forests had grown thin. Ferns once thick along the ground now formed broken patches. Conifers that once rose like towers now leaned and cracked. Flowers, new to the age, bloomed only in scattered fields. The air was dry, dust clinging to each breath. Insects hummed less loudly. Birds flew less often. Silence pressed against the land. Herds that had once filled valleys now moved in fragments. 10 where once there were 100. Weak bodies, ribs showing, eyes dim with hunger. Hadrosaurs bent their heads low, chewing slowly on dry stalks. Triceratops formed small circles, horns still proud but steps heavy. Ankylosaurs trudged close to rivers, tails dragging. The abundance of the past had become the scarcity of the end. The T-Rex followed these herds. Its body still strong, muscles still heavy, jaws still armed with bone-crushing teeth. Yet the hunts were harder. Prey fell less often. Fights drained more strength. Even victories tasted of struggle. A carcass filled the belly for a night, but hunger returned with the morning. The predator walked farther, waited longer, risked more. Imagine a T-Rex at dawn. The sky is pale grey, the sun faint behind haze. The ground cracks under its steps, dry earth splitting. The golden eyes search the horizon. A herd moves slowly in the distance. The predator lowers its head, body crouched, tail steady. It waits, it measures, but when it moves, the herd scatters too quickly. Dust rises. The chase fails. The T-Rex stops, breath heavy, ribs showing faint beneath its scales. It turns away, patient still, but weaker than before. And above, the sky carries secrets. On some nights, a new light streaks across the dark. A shooting star, brighter than most, trailing fire. The T-Rex does not know what it means. It only watches for a moment, then lowers its head to sleep. But that light is a herald. That light is a sign of what draws near. The earth itself feels unsettled. Tremors ripple underfoot. The rivers shift, sometimes flooding, sometimes drying. Storms roll with strange violence, lightning splitting the sky more often. Winds scatter leaves with unusual force. The T-Rex feels this in its body. It pauses more often. It lifts its head as if listening. The world seems to whisper of change, though no creature can name it. Fossils record this unease. Layers of rock show sudden shifts, floods followed by droughts, fires followed by frost. Pollen grains reveal plants vanishing, replaced by hardier forms. Bones show malnutrition, teeth worn thin. The story of the end was written before the asteroid fell. The world was already fragile. The silence had already begun. But still, the T-Rex endured. Still, it walked each day. Still, it hunted, it scavenged, it drank, it slept. Life did not end in one moment. It continued, even as the edges frayed. The king still carried its body through the plains, still pressed its weight into the earth. Picture a night in those last days. The stars are dim, hidden behind ash. The air is cooler than it should be. A T-Rex lies in a clearing, eyes half closed. Its breath is steady but shallow. Around it, insects chirp faintly. In the distance, a Triceratops bellows low, a sound of weariness more than strength. The predator does not move. It only listens. It only rests. The world is heavy, but sleep still comes. There is a calm in this picture. Not the calm of peace, but the calm of inevitability. The earth moves as it always has, shifting, tilting, changing. Creatures live within that movement, never outside it. The T-Rex is no different. Its body, its hunger, its steps are all part of the same rhythm. The rhythm that now slows, that now fades. And far above, beyond the sight of eyes, the asteroid draws closer. A traveler through space, cold and silent, pulled by forces greater than any life on Earth. It does not aim, it does not choose. It simply falls, and in its falling, the fate of the dinosaurs is sealed. The T-Rex does not know this. It does not fear it. It lives each day as it always has, step by step, breath by breath. It searches for prey, rests in shade, drinks from rivers, sleeps beneath stars. The end is near, but the predator does not feel doom. It feels only hunger, only thirst, only tiredness, only life. And as you listen, you too feel only the rhythm of life. Breath in, breath out, hunger and fullness, waking and sleep. Each moment complete in itself. Each moment enough. The last days of the T-Rex were not filled with noise. They were filled with silence. A silence that grew heavier, a silence that stretched longer, a silence that carried the weight of an ending. Yet, within that silence, there was still calm, still rest, still sleep. This is the story of the final days before the fire. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale. The morning began like any other. The sun rose, pale behind a haze of ash. The wind carried dust across the plains. A Tyrannosaurus Rex lifted its head, nostrils wide, golden eyes scanning the land. It did not know that this day would be the last. No creature did. The herds grazed as always. The rivers flowed as always. The forest stood as always. Yet far above, the end had already begun. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale told from prehistoric secrets. High in the sky, brighter than any star, a light appeared. At first, it looked like a second sun, small but fierce. It grew larger, faster, hotter. The air shimmered. Birds took flight, wings beating frantically. Herds stirred, uneasy, their heads lifting in unison. The T-Rex paused, eyes narrowing, sensing something beyond understanding. The asteroid fell with a force greater than imagination. 66 million years ago, near what we now call the Yucatan Peninsula, stone met Earth. In one breath of time, silence shattered. The impact released more energy than billions of bombs. The ground split. The sea rose. Fire burst into the sky. The T-Rex, though hundreds of kilometers away, felt the earth tremble. The ground shifted under its feet. Trees swayed, birds scattered. A low rumble filled the air, not like thunder, not like storm, but deeper, endless, as if the earth itself groaned. The predator froze, nostrils flaring, breath quickening. Then came the light, a flash brighter than the sun. Shadows vanished. For a moment, the world glowed white. Forests ignited instantly, flames racing through leaves and branches. Grass curled into ash. Smoke rose in thick columns. The T-Rex turned its head, eyes wide, watching the horizon blaze. The fire spread faster than wind, faster than thought. The world burned. The impact shook oceans. Waves rose higher than mountains. Tsunamis crashed against shores, flooding forests, drowning valleys. The T-Rex inland did not see the waves, but the air carried the scent of salt, the echo of water breaking. The planet itself shifted. Above, the sky filled with ash. Dust and rock flew higher than clouds, higher than mountains, higher than sight. They spread across the sky, blocking the sun, turning day to night. The light faded, replaced by red glow, then by darkness. Stars disappeared. The moon vanished. The world dimmed. The T-Rex stumbled through the forest. Its heavy steps cracked fallen branches. Fire licked at trunks. Smoke stung its eyes. It opened its jaws, releasing a low roar, not of power, but of confusion. The air grew hotter, harder to breathe. Sparks fell like rain. Leaves curled into black. The predator pressed forward, seeking open ground, seeking air, seeking survival. But survival was no longer possible. The heat was too great, the fires too vast, the air too thick. Even giants bowed to such force. The T-Rex stopped in a clearing, chest heaving, mouth open, tongue dry. It lowered its head, eyes dim, body trembling. Around it, flames roared. Above it, ash fell like snow. Fossils tell us that many dinosaurs died quickly. Some from the blast, some from fire, some from flood. Others lingered for weeks or months, starving in the darkness that followed. The asteroid did not kill in one way, but in many, yet all led to silence. The T-Rex, in its final moments, was still what it had always been, a creature of rhythm. It breathed, though ragged. It stood, though weak. Its heart beat, though heavy. It lived until it did not. There was no prophecy, no fear of the future. Only the present moment. Only life, fading into silence. Above, the sky was gone. Ash and smoke stretched from horizon to horizon. The sun no longer shone. The stars no longer glimmered. The earth was wrapped in a blanket of dark. Fire below, dust above, silence between. The age of dinosaurs was ending. Imagine that silence now. The heavy body still. The fire dimming. The earth cooling. The predator gone, but not forgotten. In stone, its bones remain. In memory, its story lingers. In dreams, it still walks, slowly, calmly, beyond the reach of fire. This is the story of the end. This is the fall of giants. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale. The fire faded. The dust settled. The oceans calmed. And yet, the world of the dinosaurs was gone. The Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of the Cretaceous, the giant of giants, no longer walked the plains. Its heavy steps ended in silence. Its golden eyes closed. Its roar fell quiet. This is the last part of the story. This is boring history for sleep. A relaxing dinosaur story. A deep sleep tale carried gently to its end. When the asteroid struck, the chain of life broke. Plants withered in darkness. Herbivores starved. Predators followed. In weeks, in months, in years, the age of dinosaurs ended. They had ruled the earth for more than 160 million years. And in a breath, they were gone. But not all life vanished. Some creatures endured. Small mammals, hiding in burrows, eating seeds and roots, waiting in the dark, survived. Birds, descendants of feathered dinosaurs, found ways to adapt, their small bodies more flexible to change. Crocodiles lingered in rivers. Turtles dug into mud. Life bent, but did not break. From the ashes of one age rose the seeds of another. The silence left by the dinosaurs opened space. The plains that once shook with giants now carried smaller steps. The skies once filled with pterosaurs now filled with birds. The oceans once ruled by marine reptiles now belonged to fish and mammals. The world was empty of giants, but it was not empty of life. And from those survivors came the future. Mammals grew larger. They spread into forests, plains, mountains. Over millions of years, they became new forms: horses, lions, whales, apes. And from apes came humans. From humans came memory. From memory came story. And in those stories, the T-Rex still walked. The silence of extinction was not the end of T-Rex. In fossils, its bones remain. Skeletons rise in museums, ribs curving high, jaws opening wide. Children stand beneath them, eyes wide, whispering facts, 12 meters long, 7 tons heavy, teeth sharp as knives. Adults read plaques, measure with their eyes, imagine the weight of history. The king stands again, not in flesh, but in stone, and in imagination the T-Rex never left. It lives in books, in films, in stories told at night. It lives in dreams, where giants still walk across plains of fern and conifer, where heavy tails sweep the ground, where golden eyes shine in moonlight. It lives here, now, in this story told for rest. In this boring history for sleep, the silence after the dinosaurs was not only silence, it was also the beginning of sound. Birds sang, mammals called, winds shifted, rivers carved new paths. The world moved forward, always forward, and yet always carrying the past within it. The T-Rex was gone, but never forgotten. Imagine standing in a museum. Before you rises the skeleton of a T-Rex, bones lifted high, skull heavy, teeth curved. Around you, voices hush. The weight of the past presses into the room. You tilt your head back, eyes tracing ribs, tail, claws. For a moment, the giant is alive again. For a moment, the silence breaks. And then, you step away, but the memory stays. The memory of T-Rex is not of terror, but of awe. Not of rage, but of strength. Not of cruelty, but of survival. It was a creature of its time, shaped by the earth, bound to the rhythm of life. It lived, it hunted, it rested, it slept. And then, like all things, it ended. But here, in story, it continues. Each word carries it forward. Each breath you take joins its rhythm. Heavy steps become slow heartbeats. Golden eyes become closing eyelids. Roars become silence. The giant fades, and you drift deeper into sleep. This is the gift of boring history for sleep. Not to excite, but to calm. Not to frighten, but to soothe. To take the greatest of creatures, the largest of predators, and turn it into a gentle rhythm, a soft voice, a lullaby of ancient time. The T-Rex is gone. But in memory, in stone, in dreams, it still walks, slowly, quietly, patiently, always in rhythm, always in silence. So now, the story ends. The giants have fallen. The mammals rise. The humans remember. The fossils speak. The dreams continue. And you, listener, drift with them. Into calm, into stillness, into sleep.